Alrighty here, the Daytona 500 is now officially in the books. I will talk about that a little later on, but now all the attention turns into the Ambetter Health 400 down at the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. It is going to be a very exciting race, and also a race that was similar to what we all just got done watching, which was the Daytona 500. Pack racing, manufacturers teaming up, big wrecks, you name it. We're going to see it at Atlanta. And today I'm here to give y'all my top 5 on how I believe things will play out. And we're also going to give a dark horse. And we're going to also have a special guest picker. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot to talk about here in today's video. So enough said here, and on to the intro we go. With the Daytona 500 now officially in the books, I do want to touch base with it before I move on to Atlanta to give y'all my race picks. But William Byron winning the second year in a row in Daytona is a very big deal. Yes, he's going to be competitive for the rest of the year. But for instance, we saw Corey LaJoie tonight. I'm filming this on a Sunday night. Do exceptionally well. And if he were to win the race, a lot of people may be saying, oh, he should be given a full-time gig in that car, which I believe was worthy of an argument, and saying he's a good driver. Now, it's a super speedway. Do not get me wrong. LaJoie did a hell of a job in the machinery he had tonight for Rick Ware Racing, but super speedway racing is not a good way to judge drivers because, quite frankly, equipment really doesn't matter, and it's all luck. Let's just be honest here. Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, two good examples, were in the best positions possible with their teammates to make a move, and next thing you know, they get taken out in a wreck, and they were up front too. So you gotta have a little bit of luck on your sides here at the super speedways. So yeah, so LaJoie, let's say he won tonight, I wouldn't buy into that hype. But for Byron, we all know he's going to be competitive, so I am going to buy into the hype. And what I mean by the hype for Byron is he's going to go out this entire year, and there's going to be some moments where he gets flat on track, and things just don't go his way. But if they win on the books next to his name, he's going to be okay. He's going to go from the weekends holding his head up high, knowing he's already got a win. He's already in the playoffs, and he has really nothing to lose until you fast forward all the way down the road in September in Darlington, if I'm not mistaken, where the playoffs start. So, yeah, Byron has a lot to hold his head up high about, and he does have momentum, so I'm buying into the hype, and there you go there. Second place, Tyler Reddick. I really think Tyler Reddick had a chance to win the Daytona 500 if Denny Hamlin, once he got clipped and went back up track, if Hamlin didn't clip the 45, I believe the 45 had a very high amount of pace coming off from the cars pushing him. I worded that so wrong, but he did have a lot of momentum built from the pushing, and I thought he could have got to the 24 very quickly. He did get to the 24, even though he got bumped, and maybe just a couple, maybe if it was Talladega, he would have got there. But he didn't, and he came home in second place. A good showing for him. Him and Daytona hasn't been really a good combination throughout the years. Jimmy Johnson coming home in third place. Man, this right here is a good surprise. Jimmy Johnson in the next-gen car is the worst combination ever. Once he retired from NASCAR a couple of years ago from full-time in 2020, we saw him come back like for a couple of one-offs here and there after he did his little IndyCar stint, which was not successful, but he did have peak moments. But for him getting a third-place finish for his team that he now owns a majority of, it's a big deal, and I believe it's going to do wonders for that organization because Jimmy Johnson, he's only running 2 races this year. He's running the 500, and he's also running the Coca-Cola 600A track, where he's pretty good at. He's won there multiple times. But Jimmy Johnson now is able to go into the shop Monday morning to hype his team up because he knows that if he can do it, his drivers can do it. Because his drivers right now, Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, are in good equipment. We saw it in the Clash, and I'm just telling y'all, this team right here, Legacy, could do very well down the road. Johnson doing well is going to bring a lot of attention, and who knows, may get some more support from Toyota. So we'll see how things go there. But Chase Briscoe, 4th place, your pole sitter, was irrelevant. Let's just be honest here. I'm a Chase Briscoe fan at heart, and for him to get on the pole was a very big deal. To lead him 4 or 5 laps, whatever he did, was cool and impressive, but he was flat after that rain delay. He really didn't do much. He was just riding around in stage 2, actually avoided a wreck or two, and he actually spun out in a wreck. So it was an eventful day for him, but coming home in 4th place is kind of meh because I believe he could have done much better, but he'll take it, move on to Atlanta, a track where he could have won at last year. And yeah, he had a couple other things go on, Hamlin and Cindric wrecking and Priest flipping. The Ryan Priest deal, in my opinion, is very interesting here because I think we saw the flip in slow motion. The underbody, the under tray, if you will, on the car actually kind of bent open and air got into it. That's what caused him to flip because we saw him doing that wheelie, but that little under flap was sort of open and air was going in it and air had nowhere to go, so it was pushing it, and that's what caused him to blow over. And it was a nasty flip, but luckily he was able to get out on his own power, and it was definitely not as bad as the wreck he had a couple of years ago in the summer where he was sent off the 14 of Chase Briscoe going into the air, flipping multiple times, and it wasn't intentional by any means, just bad place, bad time, and just the way things go in NASCAR. But tonight's flip, you really can't do much about. Maybe you secured a bottom tray a little bit more. I just don't know what you can do here. It's a lose-lose for NASCAR. You're going to have this going on, but you really can't do much about it. So we'll see what goes on in Talladega. Maybe they do something for Atlanta to keep it more secure because Atlanta, we could very well see a blowover, but not as probable as it would be in Talladega. Let's just be honest here. But then again, we saw one in Vegas last year, so I'm not ruling anything out. But yeah, enough said here about Daytona. Let's move on to Atlanta. The Ambetter Hell 400 out at the Atlanta Motor Speedway down in Hampton, Georgia is going to be very exciting. And I say this not just because of the fact that I'm going to be there, but I believe this time around, compared to years past with this layout, we got a very competitive field. With the Stewart-Haas Racing debacle, them shutting down and selling all their chargers besides one and keeping one for Cole Custer in the Haas factory team, that right there has given RFK another car, 2311 Racing another car, and also Trackhouse, and those are 3 competitive cars. Riley Herbst, Noah Gragson in the 4, and Shane Van Gisbergen, they can go every single weekend. They can go out there and be competitive, and I like that. So heading into Atlanta, we got more contenders, and it's going to be one big piston match, if you will, in Atlanta. We're going to see Ford going against Toyota and Chevy, Toyota going against and Chevy going against everyone else. So it's going to be a piston match, if you will, a lot of teamwork, and that's what's going to take the victory lane ultimately. So saying that, I believe Toyota will pair up well together. Denny Hamlin will take home the checker flag in the 11 car, a track where it's been hit or miss for him in the past, especially with this new track layout. So Denny Hamlin will win this race. Chase Briscoe will come home in 2nd place. Chase Briscoe last year was really the one that made it interesting. Let's just be real here. The race was exciting the whole way through, but towards the end, when Briscoe started threading the needle and making it 4 wide at Atlanta, 4 wide, that's when it got really interesting, and he eventually calls the big one off of turn 4. But he did things that not many other people would do. And he showed you that he's willing to risk it all. I believe this time around he will and be rewarded with a 2nd place finish. That means back-to-back top 5s for the young driver from Mitchell, Indiana. 3rd place, Brad Keselowski. I am very disappointed the way Speed Weeks went for him. I believe he was much better than what he had. And he'll rebound in Atlanta with a top 5 or a top 3, if you will. 4th place, though, was going to be the 7 car of Justin Haley. Justin Haley had his moments in Daytona, but he didn't get the result that he hoped for, which was a win. But he'll move on to Atlanta. He'll get a top 5 from it. He's a good plate racer, and he's also a very smart driver. So top 5 for him. Alex Bowman, 5th place. And my dark horse is going to be Josh Berry. But Josh Berry, though, he's competitive on these super speedways, but Ford and Atlanta is just a good combination. It's like white on rice, baby. Alrighty here. Now to wrap things up here, we got the special guest picker of the week for the 2025 Ambetter Hell 400 out at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mr. Brian T. Hill, last week in Daytona, took Tyler Reddick for the win, and Tyler Reddick came home in 2nd place. in last week's video, I had doubt, but I was proven wrong. And let's just be honest here. If the start and finish line is where it is in Talladega at Daytona, Reddick would have won the race. He had a lot of momentum off of turn 4. But if he did not get bumped by the 11 car ever so slightly after that big wreck happened on the final lap on the back straightaway, he would have got to Byron. He just got slowed down just enough for Byron to pull away. So Reddick overall wasn't a bad pick. But for Atlanta, Brian is going with Kyle freaking Busch. Kyle Busch had a really good car in Daytona and probably should have been in contention at the end for the win, but things happened. I wouldn't say he deserved a win by any means, but I believe the fastest car out there was Joey Logano, but he took himself out with that big wreck, which included Kyle Busch. It was very avoidable, if you will. But Kyle Busch is Mr. Brian T. Hill's pick for the Ambetter Health 400 out at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I like it. He was very damn close last year to winning it. He came short to Daniel Suarez. So this time around, we'll see what happens. But not a bad pick so far. Mr. Brian T. Hill is at a 2.0 average. So we'll see how things go. He's definitely doing a lot better than I am. Todd Gilliland sucked it up in Daytona. But we'll keep things going here. Comment down below if you would be interested in being a guest picker moving forward. So just do that. I appreciate you watching the video, and please like and subscribe.